I'm excited, y'all. I want to share a new D20 game system that feels familiar to Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. So if you know that game and play it, you'll be able to easily jump over to this one. But it's even easier to pick up, including for people who have never played a tabletop roleplay game. And the core rule set has a rules light rule set to make it even easier to learn this game. And there are a ton of customization options, not just for characters and their classes, but for the actual rule set as well, to be able to modularly make it into the game that you want. Oh, whoa, I'm getting ahead of myself. Hello, if you don't know, I'm the Dungeon Coach, and I've been proving my chops at homebrewing 5th edition for a long time now, and I've tried to help make your games more customizable, more fun for you. I even had a successful Kickstarter that was basically an expansion to the rule set of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and the feedback from you guys on that book and other videos of mine have been amazing, and thank you for that, and that's why I do this, is to try and help you customize your games. I love taking rules and making them more simple, more fun, more challenging and engaging for your players so we can all tell better stories. So what is this new D20 system I'm talking about? So I am officially announcing that I am releasing my own tabletop roleplay game system, codename DC20 RPG. Get it? DC20, like D20 because it's a D20 and I'm Dungeon Co. Anyway, all of this is really exciting and I want to lay out some things here for you guys. But if you want to jump straight into what the system is, you can check out the timestamps below at what each part I'm talking about. And then I have 10 different game design principles that I am changing from D&D 5th edition. I'm confident in my strengths at game design. I've done this for 5th edition 4 years now, but now I am freed from the chains of what the core rule set is, and I can now evaluate and establish what needs to be changed at its foundation. Some of it might just blow your mind. Now, I know there's a bunch of people releasing game systems, so now is probably not the smartest time to do it, especially when I'm not near as big as some of the big titans in the industry that are throwing their hat into the ring, but I'm doing the same, and I am real confident that you're going to be blown away. One of the biggest worries I have about all these other game systems that are coming out is how are they going to deviate from 5th edition? Is it even going to be a D20 system in the first place? Because I feel like it has to be a D20 system. There's a lot of reasons and philosophy behind that compared to other D6 systems and standard deviation curves and stuff, but that D20 is too important to my soul. And I'm nervous about these game systems having some sort of core rule that absolutely would kill it for me and be like, okay, I literally can't play this. And so far with a lot of these big announcements that they've made, I've seen no rule mechanics to go on whatsoever. And I don't know if they're going to have to be making this from scratch. Have they even been working on this? Because my system's been in the works for years. I have had issues in certain things about 5th edition that would, if I changed the rule set, it would absolutely blow up the game, and I couldn't do those. So I've kept track of all those, compiled them, and now Kendra's Almanac, the book that I released, is kind of a little bit of a hint and window into that. I've already play tested this system so much. I've had little glimpses of this I've talked about in different videos and different live streams here on the channel. And back whenever I was a teacher, I would play this version with students who had never played TTRPGs before. Let me stop and take a big picture real quick because I know a lot of stuff has been real crazy. If you like the stuff that I've been doing for 5th edition and my different homebrew hacks and different resources I've been releasing, those are still going to be coming, but they're going to be a lot more system agnostic, but still very much usable for D&D 5th edition. Whether it be videos I make here or resources I make on Patreon or my website. So stay tuned because I have a lot of different stuff like that coming. I have a completely free class rework coming out for a D&D bar that I have coming out. I just released an entire encounter builder that is system agnostic to building encounters. Because how to choose monsters and build terrain and build out plots and all that stuff, that's system agnostic, and that stuff is still coming. In fact, next week actually. With all the craziness and uncertainty going on right now, I think this is the best time for me to throw my hat into the TTRPG ring, dive in, and have this be just another venture that I do and start and let it grow, and we'll see how much traction it picks up based on how much you guys like it. I'm still going to be making it either way. It's just going to either be a slow process or a faster one. But now, what are these 10 game design principle changes that I'm making to my game? Time out. Whew, there's so much stuff going into this that I want to stop. And if you are interested or even kind of interested in seeing this or getting your hands on early rules or anything like that, getting up to date with news, I'm going to be doing patron-only videos, patron-only live streams to be able to talk with you guys about this rule system, getting feedback from the community that is helping to support this thing become a thing. Because I am not some big, huge corporation that just says they're going to do something and they pump all their money into it. I have myself, I have an amazing small team, and I have an amazing community. And those are the 3 core pieces that are come together to make this happen and get feedback from the patrons to be able to sculpt and mold it before I start showing it to the public. And if you can't support right now, trust me, things are crazy. Life gets crazy. Trust me, I feel you right now. You can still help in a big way about liking and sharing this video out and spreading the word about this DC20 RPG system. I appreciate this community in whatever way that you help now more than ever. Now let's talk about this game. Okay, now I'm saying this because a lot of people have been talking to me on Discord and other little comments and stuff about the OGL and this new orc license and all these other things. I am going to wait till the dust settles on all of that, and my game system will fall in line with some of those, or have to make my own, or fall with an OGL. There will definitely be an OGL, open gaming license, in perpetuity, all that kind of stuff that we've seen Wizards mess up on. I'm going to have this for this game, and it's going to be very, very user-friendly and open completely. I cannot wait to see people start creating content for that. That'll be amazing, and I'm going to cry. So, let's go. These 10 principles are things that I've wanted to change about D&D, but it's too big of a change for me to still consider it being 5th edition without something so huge. I'm going to be vague with some of these topics because to truly show you and get you into my headspace of why I'm making this creative change, it's going to take longer, and I don't want this video to be too long. It's also why I'm going to be making patron-only videos and live streams to really fully talk about all of this, dive into it, answer questions, and really show you all the stuff. Or if this video does well, make videos on the ones that you have the most questions about. So, number 1, attribute scores. There are still going to be 6 attribute scores. I've combined 2 of them together, tweaked them around a little bit, added a 6th one called grit. Grit is that determination to keep pushing yourself onward and forward. I'm not talking about constitution and how tired you are, your endurance or anything like that. That's like your physical body training and actual endurance. But this is grit. And you get knocked down, do you stand back up? How far can you push your mind to its limits? Are you afraid? Grit check? No. Get knocked down? Grit check? Yeah, I'm back. I think grit is an amazing attribute to put into the game and really adds an epic feel that I've even got chills as I'm talking about a character's grit. Or do you have low grit and you're more of a fearful character and that's not something you define yourself by? You can do that and express that. I love it. Also, there's not going to be ability scores that you then calculate to get a modifier that's the only thing you ever use and you never use a score. It's just going to be modifiers only. So there you go. And from a game design principle, you're going to start off with lower attribute scores, as in a level 1 character won't have a +5 or anything like that. It's also going to feel very similar. +5 in general is kind of the cap in this system as well, so you can kind of see like, oh, okay, it feels about the same, and I know how kind of roles work. But you're going to start off with lower attribute points, but you're also going to get one every level. As opposed to D&D, where you get one at like 4th level, you can choose an ability score increase or a feat, but then most people choose a feat, so you almost really rarely get attribute points to increase your attributes, as your character should be advancing and growing over time. Which leads me to the level progression system. In general, I love level ups. It feels so cool, and you should get stuff when you level up to be able to customize your character with. Like I just said, you're going to be getting attribute points every time you level. So for the DC20 RPG system, the max level is going to be 10. Now, time out, stop, hold up. The best way I can describe this is you can still go from level 1 all the way to 20, but the classes and the subclasses and the game design is built from 1 to 10. That is super locked in, nice progression for classes. And then from 11 to 20 is prestige leveling. You still get stronger and more powerful, but you basically get custom feats that let you be able to pick and customize your character to carry really interesting ones. You can basically steal feats and skills from other classes as you customize your original class. Because if you look at all Dungeons & Dragons campaigns, the usual end level is between 8 and 12. Most people never even get to 20 at all, so why build a game design around level 20? I create subclass features and class capstone features that people will literally never see. If you wanted to take a 5th edition adventure and run my system in it, you totally could, and that's going to be a thing. And let's say the campaign runs to level 12. Cool, you could use my system. It would go from level 1 to 10, and then you'd have 2 levels of prestige. Done. A level 10 character would feel about the same in my system as it would in D&D. Power level wise, so you're not all confused and worried about how strong people are. Anyway, on to number 3. You have a skill point system that you also get points in every time you level up. Skill proficiencies. In Dungeons & Dragons, you pick the skill, you have a proficiency, and you really can't become proficient over time. So if your character has great role play or great stuff, or stuff happens and you really should become proficient at this thing, there's not really a game mechanic to do that. You have to homebrew some stuff, and I've done that before, so no. In this system, every level you get skill points that you can put into your skills, and it's not just a proficiency that slowly grows over time for no reason. You have to actively put points into the skill, and it increases, but it's in a simple way. Again, I'm not going to go into the details of how simple it is and how it works and all that stuff. I'm going to save that for live streams and all this other announcements and releases, or possible videos if y'all like where this is going. Because speaking of skills, number 4 is the perception skill. I'm going to make it not so mandatory. Because everybody knows perception checks happen the most of any check. It happens all the time. I would love to see the stats on the amount of perception checks the Dungeon Masters have asked for compared to all the other roles. When I'm making a character, the few times that I ever do get to make a character, I feel like I should choose perception because I know it's going to come up. But then I'm like, no, I don't want to do that just because it's a big skill. But I don't like the situation that perception is so dominant. The perception is still there. It is still a skill, but I've removed it and it works differently than the other skills because it is a different kind of skill. And number 5 5, there are classes. Classes are super fun, customizable, exciting. There are an archetype for classes, and then within each archetype are the actual classes themselves, and then each class has a subclass. But how it works instead is there's no multi-classing as you know it from D&D 5th edition. How multi-classing will work in the DC20 RPG system is you're level 1 and you get a couple class feats. These are pretty simple, but it gives you the flavor of that class, and a brand new player playing a level 1 character won't be overwhelmed with a bunch of options and choices and craziness. It's just a level 1 character. Then you level up to 2 and you get some options and choices and interesting little tweaks. Level 3, everyone gets their subclass, because that's another thing about my class design here, is every class gets subclass at the same level. The flow of leveling up every character is the same as far as the kind of stuff that you get. Everyone will get subclasses at 3rd level. Everyone gets a custom feat at 4th level, and now this is where it starts to get interesting. This multi-classing thing, you get a talent at 4th level where you can go and pick some feats from other classes. Or there are going to be general classes like Greater Weapon Master, Sharpshooter, and things that you're familiar with from 5th edition as far as the concept of a general talent. Those will exist, and they still will be applicable in whatever types of ways to whatever kind of talent points you want to spend there. But you can go to other classes and steal class features from them if you really see that that's the direction your character's going, because I hated multi-classing and you had to take a level 1 dip, but maybe the thing you wanted from that class is at level 3, so then you had to purposely take 3 levels in that class and then leave your original class alone. Why? You level up in your class and you'll have little pit stop moments where you can go and steal from other classes to build the type of class you want. So yes, you will have a core class, but it's going to be very different from anyone else. So a core class of a druid, and your friend's also playing a druid. You both can play druids, because my goodness, you're going to be able to pick all these different options and you won't even feel like you're both base druids. These last 5 now are getting a little bit out there, and this is really exciting. And these are some of my favorite ones that I'm going to have to talk about in more length, so I'm going to give you a little bit of just concept nuggets here and expand on it later. So again, if you're very interested in this kind of stuff and you want to talk more about this, give feedback on this, join the hype, let me know. Links down in the description for my Patreon to really go to the next level on this. But here's the general concept. Number 6, there is a open character creation system. It's not going to have as many arbitrary hoops for you to have to jump through, so you can create something like a charisma barbarian, a barbarian like Hercules that's very charismatic and of the people. Because right now in D&D, if you create a barbarian, you'd have to have strength to do your attacks, you'd have to have dexterity for your armor and your unarmored armor class, constitution is going to be your health in your unarmored armor class. Now you don't have a lot of room to be able to spend points in other places that really facilitate your role play, so your charisma score is probably going to be low, or if you do have your charisma score be high, now you're having to sacrifice something else, and then that feels unoptimal. Why do we have to have these arbitrary hoops to jump through? So if you want to create a charisma style barbarian, you're not going to be punished and held back for the type of character that you see the vision for. Or what if you want to make a paladin that's really, really intelligent? So now paladins already have to have all these different stats and high stats in all these different places, charisma and wisdom, all these different things. And now you also want to do intelligence? You just don't have enough points. There is a better way to do it that's not as restrictive and having these hoops to jump through, so that you have a character and you can actually make the kind of character that's in your head. So whichever one of these points is the most interesting, comment below the number 6 I want to know about and ask some questions, and that's kind of, we can see where the next video goes from here. But number 7 is maybe the most crazy one, the most impactful one, and this is the biggest change from D&D and a lot of other tabletop role-playing games, is a much, much faster paced combat. I have a brand new damage system that's so awesome, I almost don't want to say it yet publicly right now, so that other people can try and come and steal it or something. It's so clean, so good, so quick. And that's honestly probably going to be the next video that people are going to be asking the most about. It's already been the thing that's asked the most about. So that is going to solve a lot of problems of how long it takes combat, how long, an hour plus combat every single time. Change it up, which also is going to tie in to number 8. I'm overhauling the hit point system, because right now in Dungeons and Dragons, you have both problems at the low end and high end. At the low end of the game, you're worried about one-shotting your players and killing them, because if you deal over twice their health, you could kill them. You could one-shot them and permanently kill their character, and that's a legitimate worry for at level 1 characters, and people are always scared about that. But then also, at the high end of combat, at 20th level and stuff, they have hundreds of hit points, 100 plus hit points for even the lowest classes, and they have too much health. And how on earth is that a problem in a game design system where you have both problems problems of low health and high. No. So health in the DC20 RPG system is going to start off at a spot that feels like a solid but low amount of health, but you're not going to accidentally kill your characters. Also with a damage system all tied together and to balance it all out. And when you level up, it's not going to get crazy. I just always thought it's crazy how you can have both problems of at low levels it's too low and at high levels it's too high. Something's wrong. Number 9, there's definitely going to be an action point system in this game. I loved Pathfinder 2nd Edition's action points. You have 3 points, you can spin what you want to do. That was an inspiration, of course, and I really liked that concept. And just when I heard it for the first time, I was like, that's how action economy should be. It's definitely going to be different, and I'm running with it, especially when it comes to spells and how those are spent, how many points you have to be able to spend. You have like a stamina that gets worn down over time, so that is going to be the style of the type of action economy you have instead of an action. And then it's a lot more restrictive if you think of it like that. But you have a certain amount of stamina or action points that you can spend on what you want to do. Love it. And number 10 is bye-bye spell slots. Spell slots might have been the thing that was the craziest thing that I heard whenever I learned about the game. I played a barbarian. It was my first character ever. I understood the game, and I was like, what about spell casting? And whenever somebody told me spell slots, and that was the system, I was very sad and confused because it just doesn't feel in the game right. Even as a dungeon master, when players have spell slots and then they can't cast a spell anymore because they don't have that spell slot, but then they have other spell slots, but not a spell slot for that one. And then they can upcast it, but then some don't upcast, and then I could rant about that, and I have a whole system of a magic system that I have for 5th edition that's also an inspiration for this game system, and it's going to be a mana point system. That is a much cleaner version for magic. It's also much more simple. You have a mana points, and you spend them, and you cast spells with them. And when you run out of mana points, interesting, you could keep going. You could push yourself to the limit. You can spell break and start to spend hit points or hit dice in some way to be able to push yourself magically to the limits, maybe even hurting yourself in the process to keep casting spells at a risk. And magic will feel more alive and interesting as far as magic goes in a game, and each class that can cast magic will cast it differently. So whenever a sorcerer casts a fireball, it's going to be different than when a wizard casts a fireball or whatever spell. There it is. I'm going to be doing my absolute best to bring the heat with this, to really throw my hat as hard as I can into the big dogs with this ring, and a lot of I already am going to do my hardest no matter what happens. And now I'm throwing it to you guys. How much are you excited about this? If you're excited about this in whatever way that you can support it, like I said, sharing the video, hyping it up, awesome. We'll see if the YouTube side of things likes this video, and I'll make another one. And then there's the patron side of things. It's people getting behind this system. I've already seen some people come in, leave me a message about how excited they are about this. And I've been genuinely blown away by how many people are really hyped up for this system that little old me is doing, and I'm going to really give it my best shot. And Patreon is going to be the fuel to that fire to be able to stoke this and get it to the spot where we can launch it and make it big and make a book for it and make all these different stuff for it. Thank you so much for this community, for this even being a possibility. We'll see how much traction we pick up, and stay tuned in whatever way you can, because this DC20 RPG might just be the next big thing. Stay creative, because we're going way outside that box. Peace.